Aaron?
Aaron is not expected.
I thought he was coming. If he's not, I missed the email.
I'll give him one more minute. Get the 6:59 on my watch. Or my cell phone, whatever you call it. Who has a watch anymore?
I do.
You do. I know some
Just a
people
basic
do.
watch too. Just a basic one.
Don, is your anniversary yesterday, today?
Correct.
We have the pleasure.
Okay, it is 7 PM. Call the with the planning board to order for Wednesday, November 8th, 2023, and the first item, I'm going to adjust the agenda a bit, and first item I'm going to call is case number 23-03, which was tabled from September 13th. Consideration of request from Thomas Miser for conditional use permit for earth moving of 125 cubic yards within 250 feet of the lake for the purpose of expanding an existing non-conforming structure for living space and garage at 27 Rocky Haven Lane on town map 25 lot 23. Who is here to present on this case?
Hi, Tom.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I got a question.
And
What's the quorum?
excuse me,
What is the quorum?
the quorum technically is half of the number of people present, so
Oh, it is, okay.
it is.
Why I asked is, I did a lot of work with Tom on this
Yes.
project, so I feel obligated to join him and not recuse myself from the board for this particular item.
Okay, that's
I think
fine.
it's the right thing to do.
Okay,
So I'll join him.
so you will recuse yourself and
Yep.
No. I apologize, gentlemen, the battery on this is about
That's still dead. Oh,
Yeah.
you want to take a seat here and take screen?
Yeah, sure.
there.
yes, go ahead.
All right, my name is Tom Miser, and I'm here for a continuation of a request from the board from September 13th. At that meeting, we put it on hold, we gave us some additional information, questions that we wanted answers to. I hope that the packet I submitted answers a lot of those questions, but I didn't want to go over some of the highlights.
Okay, excuse me if I could pause just for a moment. I just wanted to recognize the fact that Aaron Chase is present, so we have full voting members. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
In the notice I got from the planning board listed some of the questions. And three of them I think are covered by the revised plot plan. Submitted in the package, I think it's the second, it's the first document in there, first draft. Specifically, you were asking for the identification of a new structure relative to the shoreline. You asked for setbacks to be clearly identified both in the front and back property lines. And you want to know the different, which ones were existing structures and which ones were proposed. I think that those are all answered in that. That plot plan. Have any questions on that? I'd be happy to.
Okay, we did receive that,
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to note that Jim is present remotely.
okay. Yes, I did check. Jim is present, great. Okay, any questions from the board on this, or any comments? Go ahead, Ray.
I had a question. I just wanted to double check, that Rocky Haven Lane, it's a road, but is it an actual road?
No, it's, I call it a travel way.
Well, that's, I guess, what I was asking, because, you know, our ordinance requires the 40-foot setback from the road. And, you know, we can't increase non-conformity, and right now you had 34 feet and your new structure would be 30 feet, but if the traveled way is not considered an actual road because it's not paved, it's not a town road, it's essentially a right of way for access. So I'm not gonna classify as that. I just wanted to point that out to the board and see if anybody else had any different distinction on that. I didn't know. I just wanted to make sure to clarify that, to say that I'm not considering that I'm not considering a traveled way to be a road. Cause I know there's a road further back that I would consider a road. This is more of a right of way access drive, let's call it a private driveway. So then then the 40-foot setback is not required. So that would be my interpretation. Oh, sorry, I'm not using the mic. That would just to be clear, that's my interpretation, and the 40-foot setback doesn't apply here because this is a private drive.
And I don't know if you're still aware, but a couple of weeks ago, I did go in front of the zoning board of appeals. Those questions were answered to their satisfaction, and they
Yep.
approved it.
Okay.
Another question that came up in our first meeting, and I spoke incorrectly. The question was asked whether the height of the addition is going to be the same or higher or lower than the existing building. I said it was going to be the same. That it is not right. That is, it's going to be taller than the existing building, but it's still going to be less than 25 feet. And another question was raised about like permeability versus non-permeability. I think that's, I got so confused last time, I'm sorry. And I think there is right behind the plot plan, there's a list of the permeability of less than 20%.
Yeah, the impervious area is limited to 20%, and based on your calculations, it was 10%. Based on your sketch, I thought it was reasonable.
Yeah.
I didn't do the math out, I just guesstimated, but it
Well,
looked
he did the
reasonable.
math.
Okay, it looked reasonable, so I didn't, you're well within the bounds of what we require.
And the last thing is, want to make certain about the erosion control. And if you look at some of the pictures or look at the plot plan, you can see I have a very steep frontage. It is there's been a concern of mine for 30 years to make sure that is done. None of that is compromised. We will be putting A-bills, silt fence, whatever is needed. We will get this thing done. And it was also mentioned that we need permission from Mark to do an inspection of the installed erosion control plan to make sure that it is going to do the job. So with that, I think, again, I think what was presented as a package, I hope answers more further questions.
Well, I know at the time, one of the main questions I had, which based on the original sketch was a little unclear, is how much of the existing structure is within the 100-foot non-conforming portion, and how much, if any, of the new proposed structure was going to be within that zone. It appears certainly a portion of the existing structure is non-conforming for the 100-foot setback, but it appears that none of the proposed addition is going to be within the 100-foot line.
That's
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And if we were to condition approval based on the fact that no new construction within 100 feet, is not gonna be a problem?
No,
Okay, very good. The other items that I was concerned with seem to have been addressed. Any other comments from any of the board members? Great.
Yeah, I just had one other one, and you mentioned it, so you're not, if you're gonna have a contractor do this work, and are they gonna be an erosion control certified contractor? Okay, I mean, Mark usually checks on that, but I just wanted to make sure if that's something you're already planning on doing. That was my only other question.
Usually Mac will be all over that
Usually,
anyway.
yes, yeah.
Good question. Any further questions, comments? If not, I'll open it to the public. Any comment from the public? Hearing that there are none, I will proceed. Any further questions from the board, or is anyone interested in proposing a motion?
Ed, do you mind if I ask just a few questions? Or would you prefer?
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
So
We'll consider you sort of quasi board
I
member.
can be public, I can jump on the other side over there. Tom, private water sewer, where you're at now, or is that public water, public sewer?
private both.
Okay. Do you have a good idea where your system is located at now?
Yes, that's why we can only build it. We're building.
Okay, so buildings in this location wouldn't forego a space that you would need, say, for a new septic system if that fails going forward.
Good questions. Any other questions, comments? If not, someone interested in proposing a motion? You could do that.
I would like to propose that case number 23-3 03 that was tabled from September 13th, consideration of a request from Thomas Miser for a conditional use permit for earth moving more than 25 yards within 250 feet of the lake for the purposes of expanding an existing non-conforming structure for living space and garage at 27 Rocky Haven Lane on town map 25 lot 23 be approved.
With a condition.
I didn't have a condition.
I would recommend a condition that no portion of the new structure be constructed within 100-foot setback.
Okay. With the following condition that no portion of the structures is within the 100-foot shoreline setback. Or the plan as proposed is followed.
I'll second that.
Okay, Eric, thanks. Okay, motion was made and seconded. Any further comments, questions? If not, put it to a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed?
This is Jim King, and I'll say aye.
Good to go.
Did you get my vote?
Yes, we did, Jim. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Saying yes, yes. All right, moving right along. We have consideration of LD 2003 zoning ordinance amendment language that is proposed to be added to our current zoning ordinance to comply with the state housing regulations. Just how do we want to start on this? John, did you want to kind of go through what you put together? Or?
I think we have changed the name from last time, just in regard to the capping of 1,500 square feet. For the accessory dwelling unit is allowed as opposed to being allowed to the citizens. So there's one primary and accessory and kind of
Is this version that we have in paper different from the electronic? I'm just double checking it against my comment on my paper. There was a strike through on page 1, section 4. I think it's correct, it just didn't make the change, the word. Water, are you gonna remove the strike through? I think it's just the text is strike through. It's sorry, it's section 4D. No, E, it is E, I'm sorry.
And that strike through, I believe the strike through was to cover public water, and I believe as we discussed that this statement could be verification that sewer capacity is adequate for the development. And my suggestion where this is not public sewer water, private sewer, private septic on that statement. If I'm reading it correctly.
E covers the private lot. Minimum lot size for subsurface waste disposal of public sewer. For verification that the water and sewer capacity is adequate for it. It's either or. They have to be one of the capacities. It's assuming that the town has, the town could have a limit if we had 150 new houses go up, and maybe they only have a small supply on the town to keep being handled that house.
That's why
my
I was myself as to look for addressing that. I know there was some discussion of making sure that the private sewer has sufficient capacity for it. Well,
written statement.
Well, that's what D says, minimum lot size for subsurface waste disposal. That's my reading of it. That would be the requirement, is that if you don't have public sewer water, you have to have adequate space to be able to put in a septic system and be able to put a well in with enough separation to meet the minimum requirements. And then if you have public water, you just have to make sure it has the capacity to handle whatever development they're trying to build, just to make sure that if they were building on Memorial Drive and they're building 500 houses on the far end, the sewer capacity probably could. I don't think there's that much land, but it's just,
I know the process, I would ask them to get the statement for you all as part of an application of the building permit. I don't know what work requires.
I believe he would be. So, yeah, I think that's correct. For that statement, public water and. Comment I had on this is sort of a little housekeeping thing. Is, I was concerned with maybe this is something we're gonna look at down the road, but, the lettering and numbering usage on that, what?
I'll go through one, like 13
The
goes
11,
1 and 2,
To
and then
one.
G goes to A, B, C.
and I think what we need to go is G11, then A, B, C, and D, and then when we get down to D, those items I think are going to be now all Roman numerals as opposed to numbers. Excuse me, as opposed to numbers. Yeah, that's just sort of the
Just check your formatting for your
the
hierarchy.
formatting. Yeah,
Yeah. It
I
probably
wasn't sure if
changes.
you did this with automatic formatting. Yeah, yeah. And I did see a similar situation down in Article 4 performance standards. And the specific activity for accessory dwelling unit. Again, those should be. You know, I looked at it and seemed to agree with, I didn't check everything in detail, but it did seem to agree with the, current ordinance. One, two, three, one together.
Yeah. Different format of the country information, so you can see the other text around it that's in the ordinance.
Well, we should at some point, probably before it goes to council, and maybe put it in, get it in that format. Just take a look, I took it and I picked up the book, going through the book, and it looks like it fit.
Watch the full document, you have this embedded.
That would be good. That'd be a good idea. So I guess based on that, any other comment from me? Yeah. It's just, it's basically an addition to being kept in on the end. Of course, it's one of those, an overlay one. Any other comments, questions from the board? Well, hearing none, any comment from the public on this? Hearing none? Zoom? Yeah, so if not, we make a motion that we, go incorporate this in the draft version to, current ordinance and advance it to the town council.
Okay, just to make sure I'm clear, I mean, we're approving the language as is, that's gonna go to the town council, they're gonna review, evaluate, decide whether they approve it or not.
Yes.
And then once they approve it, it gets adopted into the law.
And when you say as is, with the changes that we discussed tonight.
That's what I'm saying.
This one is, as you probably noticed, a while back, the state passed, new laws to allow like accessory dwellings and on lots and, you know, in-law apartments and so forth. You know, more compact housing in certain instances. So what we did, actually what Don put together, did the front work on it, is took the requirements from the state, made the adjustments to our ordinance to make the allowances that the state now requires. So that's what we're attempting to do is lay that on top of our ordinance, make the tweaks so that we're in line with the state regulations. So that's what the 2003 item is all about. Yeah. Oh, you're back in on. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't officially recognize you back on active. So yes. Okay. Your second on that. Okay. So, the moved and seconded that we advance the, I don't know how to say this, the 2003 ordinance changes to the town council.
I would just recommend LD 2000.
LD 2000. That's both the years. Okay, any further questions? If not, look at the vote. All those in favor? Feel free to Jim on there.
Here's the.
Okay. Sometimes there's a little delay getting on. Okay. Well, hearing, appears that the motion passes. LD 2003, amendment will be incorporated to the law. That's to the council. All right. Now, final activities for the evening. We want to continue the review of KV Talk, planning director Joe Greenwood for the proposed ordinance regulating quarries and gravel pits. Joel, you ready to help us out? Right.
Everybody grab a cookie.
Everybody grab a cookie.
Want me to get this again, or would you rather just follow along on your versions?
If you could get that's not much of a problem, that would be helpful. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's right. I asked about it. He hadn't gotten it. Take one for me, because I didn't. And I would like to make a note also that, on this item, this is, basically the, board activity trying to, put together a draft on this. We will not be taking any public comments at this time. Once the board has a draft completed from the work that Joel has been doing for us, we will have a meeting with ample opportunity for public comment at that point. At this point, as I mentioned, we will not be taking.
Okay, so time we go to section page 18 on my copy of the presentation. This is we want to simplify this because we don't necessarily talk about this is the original draft we're talking about allowed it. It's only allowed in one zone right now. So to decide what the standards are, but only allowed in the railroad. What would we like to see in terms of redevelopment ambient areas? That's about 367, 6. Another question, do we have about the policy? Yeah, the only zone that we have up here, like
That's the only
zone
zone.
allowed. Right. Yeah, it's, well, I mean, that's what I mean, but have it as, only got one zone that we can have contact. Nowadays. On the property line. Yeah.
But they have to keep small wooded buffer or vegetated buffer around. Yeah.
I think we find that somewhere else where we probably from the property line. One of the things that we're going to do while it comes to it's going 7 a.m. Or to 6 now. I kind of put it out. I like the name. Yeah, 65 is basically about 65. So 65 is it's basically, it's not really yelling, but it's definitely well beyond. So 65 is I think
think it's an hour total, you have to have earmuffs off your phone. So.
Depends on how hard it's getting on the accelerator.
Something gives you this, is.
Right.
Sandy was 65.
Inside the property would be required at the intersection. That's the limit, yeah.
I'm living pretty close to that.
Eighty is the ocean, I believe 80 is the ocean limit. That's considered common. So if you're exposed to 80, you have to be.
How they did it.
So we want to be comfortable.
Yeah, I think I thought.
There's a lot of.
He's just a kind of generic, that's how the user. He's a wildlife. But, I mean, I don't know if you get a. That maybe that would. Plan.
Probably more critical.
Yeah, yeah. That's wildlife. And it's. Just making.
Thank you.
Look,
I said everything in there was pretty much in line with the state requirements, so
yeah,
I didn't have, I don't think there's many things site specific.
No, I mentioned to him earlier, I can see what the means is. We want to reinforce it. In G. And I don't know if anyone even has that background, or if this is a third party. If you're able to give more direction at this point, I think.
You just hire a third-party industrial engineer to come over with an audio meter, they stand there in 2 locations, they monitor it, you're done.
So they would do it initially with ambient and then.
Well, we removed ambient because we're basically saying 65 decibels period. That's what we're saying you can operate at, so that would be at the property line, you measure it, multiple locations. That you cannot have 65, more than 65 decibels be leaving the property.
I just want to be.
Yeah,
It is easier, okay.
yeah, that's,
I mean, of course.
yeah, they do it in our office. It is, you know, they're there all the time. At least every year we have industrial engineers. It's really, you can order the meter and do it yourself. But, you know, you can also hire third parties. There's a place right in Lewiston, there's another one in Portland. It's, yeah, very common, yeah, very common.
That third party.
Possibly, that was.
That's, I think that's stated in there, kind of a wrap up that all third parties can still do it.
Well, I realize that.
No, we didn't state that specifically, but, I think we've got a, well, we'll look at it when we get to it. There's this catch-all that covers virtually everything
Yeah, possibly.
anyway.
Yeah, and that would be probably a Mark question, if somebody came in with a noise complaint.
Yeah, that's the other one.
You know, how does Mark enforce?
Right.
What is the process that he would use? That would be an important question for him.
Neighbor, yeah.
They can, absolutely, yep. Yep. It's not calibrated, though. It's probably, that's where, you know, Mark may be able to. I don't know how good that is, but what process would we use? You know, I think it's the question.
I'll get more specific feedback from him.
Yeah, just.
Should specify.
Yep, they can
You don't want to
themselves.
operate.
Yeah. I think that's the kind of the judgment that Mark has to make. So, you know, the example of like the flashing light we had that and multiple complaints, you know, kind of work with it. I think that, you know, if it's the same person complaining about noise, but I think that, you know, the mission is good. They're not over the limit. So I think we probably, I mean, that again, would be hard. And I'd be careful if we try to be prescriptive about things like that, because honestly, oh, you're only allowed two complaints per year. Like, releases them up and then they can't. Yeah, and it has to be, you have to be careful with, if we write it in here, he has to investigate every single claim and put some kind of document together, that could be really cheap for him, so.
Then we go into Dustin after. This would be one of the things that's been, difficult for to kind of actually measure. Issues.
I thought section D is good to control. You know, that's just the, you know, the responsibility of the operator when it gets built. And they have to meet the state regulations. So. Required to do one of the things that's, you know, that covers everything that goes with that. Well. Then they gotta file.
Well, it's all, this is one of the ones. Right.
Yeah, it's kind of general, because it just says capital minimum. You know, it's really the top statement. You know, even annoying adjoining property. And it says, it does say, you know, at any point beyond the line shall be beyond. Shall be. Yeah, anything that's leaving the property is not. Yeah. And that's visual overall. Not very good, but you could still, that's, he has a process. Yeah, oh yeah. Yep. It's not cheap, it's not nearly as cheap as monitoring for noise. No. It's quite a bit more, because you have to minus out atmospheric deposition, which naturally occurs. You have to get at least dual sites that are in the same elevation, same general, it's complicated. Oh, somebody filed. He's gonna have. That's really their job, is to oversee that. That might be a case of having a consultant. Their consultants that do that. Well, yeah, very much, but, you know, you also have to remember that you have visual and non-visual particulates, right? And normal distribution of airborne sediment, you're gonna have both. So if you're visually seeing across the property line, you know you're gonna have invisible part. So that's an indication that, yeah, I wanna monitor it, and you can say, look, I can see it. He says, and our ordinance says you can't see, you shouldn't be able to see. So you could say, well, I can't see any, but I still think it's here. That's a little bit harder because you look at a lot of the case studies from DEP, and that doesn't happen. Usually the levels are well below EPA and other standards when you can't see anything. So I did a little bit of reading. That's the reason I'm citing what the CDC says about particulate matter. So some of the things we've heard and been bounced around are not entirely correct. No, but they'll get bounced around. That's fine, but it's, I mean, oh yeah, yeah, but again, that's something that can be monitored. It's just, there's a process to it. Yeah, assuming it's something that's something that they can pick up. Yeah. If it's liquid, then it's gonna become contamination, then that's village's still their responsibility. So cleanup could be very different, depending on what they're carrying. Remediation of the village of extracted materials to soil. Because yeah, just sweeping it off the road, well, it's not on the road. But that doesn't mean it didn't cause a problem someplace else, depending on what's extracted. General question on this, I didn't see it in here. But just kind of throwing it out to everybody here, you know, we asked, you know, solar farms, everybody's going with these LLCs, and we asked them to, you know, put in a cleanup fee. Well, if this is an LLC and they just go, my hands are washed, I'm out, who does the cleanup? Who does the, you know, reclamation of the site? And I don't know about you guys, but most of the time when one of these places run out of dirt, they just kind of disappear. I'm sure they'll just close that LLC and keep their gun. But should we be asking them for an upfront reclamation cost? And so this, we want you to do this reclamation process in the town, just like we do for solar farms, the town take on and hold that money until. I thought there was some, well, that's what I was questioning. I think we talked about it someplace in here, but I don't remember it linking into specifically into reclamation. That's what I wanted to make sure. They have to have a bond to say, oh, they have X number of dollars of insurance and that kind of thing to operate. I'm more worried about them just washing their hands and walking away and leaving the site unremediated. So I want like a down payment up front to say, pay for the remediation right now. And we're gonna hold it, and when you leave, you remediate it, we'll give you your money back, or we have the money to do it. Yes, 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 exactly. Well, it solves our problem, especially with, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm overly concerned about LLCs. I think it's happened too many times. And when we've had the solar, even people have come in and said how easy it is to open and close LLCs and. But That just said they have the money to operate when they start.
or that was corporation.
I thought that was what it was. That's that's why I was checking with everybody. Maybe I missed the connection to the reclamation, and do we want to get an actual reclamation estimate? Like we do for solar farms, and say, we're gonna hold that money.
And I'm wondering now, because I'm not familiar enough with the LLC, we should be talking about, even with the performance bond, it's gonna be with that LLC.
Right, but let's
So
say
then
that,
it's not.
exactly,
Because you have, you know, submit.
they have to do that when they start. What if they take all that money, they run out of money? That's, I guess, the question. What's the town left with? If they close the LLC, they sell everything off and they close the LLC.
Well, they're supposed to put this money in escrow account.
Okay, that's money that goes in that,
Yeah.
okay, that's what I didn't
It is,
understand.
municipality must be managed, so.
Okay,
That,
okay, so that is something that,
they deposit that money.
they deposit that money, okay.
Well, yeah, there's a number of financial assurance mechanisms that work. I mean, yeah, it could be something like a letter of credit, but which, you know, it's not for money.
Yeah,
But, but things like that is, those are usually constructed that if a corporation isn't holding up their bargain with the bank that's issuing a letter of credit, that the bank will notify the beneficiary, I guess. Okay, that this letter of credit is going to expire in 30 days. We want to call it, and I had to do that in one case. At the DEP, actually had to call it a letter of credit. We were down to the last few hours before we actually restore it. And it caused a lot of tearing of hair out of the parties involved, other than me. It's like, no, we're calling that. You know, either you get it reestablished, and hey, we're jumping through all kinds of hoops, but to finally get it reestablished with a different bank, and fine, they were okay. But I mean, it was down to the 11th hour before they did it. The next day, the money would have been in the department's hands because the bank couldn't not pay us. Because we had a manual on it. Like, you know, we're calling that in. And they finally, like I say, very 11th hour, they finally managed to reestablish a new letter of credit. Get out of it. Yeah, things like that work, and it's not like, you know, anybody's gonna put up a, you know, $500,000 up front, but you gotta have some wherewithal to get a bank to back in, bank or whoever is doing.
Okay, but remediation covered it. That's hopefully what we. Yeah,
I say it's,
I
stays in the town, so regardless. They disappear or sell it. And so,
yeah, good.
this is basically the physical requirement.
Take out. They obviously can't. You have to have another quarry to fill in. section A kind of tries to touch on that, you know, firewall, or must be treated in such a manner to leave them in a condition that minimizes the possibility of slope failures, collapses, you know, things like that. So, you know, basically you're not allowed to leave a big hole like you used to. You're not supposed to be allowed to do that. And that's my understanding of this. So if someone was saying, you know, I would say, okay, we need to have reclamation dollars, showing that, you know, which could just be filling in that, be an improvement. And now you're done. And you know, that's a lot of material, but that's not, you remove the water, so, and assuming you made a rough face, there's gotta be more material on the other side. So you have to be mindful of how big your property is. Or you're gonna
Well, I don't think it's not why the walk along. I think it's walk along. You know, like the gravel pit, where you have, you know, potential for smoke failure. I think they clip long.
No, I mean,
The way I understand it, it doesn't require that.
Which is a way to try and minimize the rock fall.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously, you can't level that back out, but it's safe.
Well, I mean, it says right in here for part B is gravel slopes 2.5 to 1.
That's gravel
That's
slope,
the
yeah.
gravel
Yeah,
slope.
the gravel pit.
It just says minimizing rock fall.
Yes. Right.
And I think
Not requiring your.
I think it's similar to.
Right. No, you're not refilling back to level. Not no way it works.
Yeah, it says comparable with the conditions that existed before excavation. If it's a ledge outcrop, it's a ledge outcrop. If it's not a ledge outcrop, it's not a ledge outcrop. The matter, exactly. So, and you know, whatever you say comparable, I think there's a lot of judgment in. Yep. Yeah, I mean, and I see CEO in there a couple of times. I think it's kind of an assessment.
All kind of prevent persistence.
It's always. Have a feeling they're really good. So, yeah. The drops. It's like that. For the heat drops. You never know. Got a portable. And I said, I've got a 50-foot HDMI cable, and it's a short throw, and it's 3,000 lumens. So it's like you can see it on that wall during the day. Just you don't walk in front of that. It's like so bright. Yeah, and it's not a light bulb, it's actually one of them. So how bright. I did get a name. You can play with the trapdoidal effect there to make it square instead of on the floor and it's square. But the zoom, you just need to have it made. The auto zoom just never works. It's like auto zoom, and I'm like, I'm looking, I'm like going, can anybody else do that? Keystone is trapezoidal. Making the adjustment. I don't think it was as time sensitive as these, that's why. That's why we took it back. We didn't get rid of it, we just said, we beat LB 2003 and mine was both had like that. We were.
Okay, we're back in some. Hopefully it didn't sneak anything by me.
We did. No.
Notice on the
Okay.
mediation. So reasonably, stated, and basically our whole plans to CEO being able to use that. Mitigate to the best as possible to A, say, B, you know, visually. There's no one that can.
Yeah, the only question, I guess, the only question for the board in there that I highlighted was 5 acres at a time. You know, that's something we can change. If anybody had any concerns, so basically they can be working in a 5 acre area. And then as they move out of that area, they have to reclaim part of that area. So they can't never be, so a section at a time. So, and I said that 5 acres is a pretty good area. Is that something we want to potentially shrink or consider discussing? So. I wasn't completely opposed to it, I just wanted to bring it up because that is a pretty big area.
Would that be reasonable?
Yeah. Question is, how big of an operation do you want? You know, that's the only question we want to have. Well, you can change the size, you can say 2 acres. You know, they can't have more than 2 acres over the time. You know, or they make it bigger, if you really felt that was the case. So that section.
Yeah, it's just kind of fun.
Yeah. In acres, it'd be just over 1. Because it'd be 300 by. Think about it.
Football field.
Football field. Yeah, I was gonna say.
I think the state goes with five.
And that, no problem, I'm sure that's where it came from, I was just asking the question.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ample room to do pretty much anything reasonably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think five would be restricted.
No.
Yeah.
No, the only question was, should we consider making it smaller?
Okay.
That was really my only question. I highlighted it and said, I personally could be fine with 5 acres, and just throwing it out to see if anybody else had any concerns about that.
No. I think 5 acres. What size area? Again, depending on what's going on. Stockpile.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and you're assuming the stockpile is part of that 5 acres.
So, oftentimes it is.
What I mean,
Oh, it does.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
The area
Yes,
of active extraction.
Okay, I knew it didn't include the roads and structures, but okay, the stockpile doesn't. Okay.
A lot.
Thing is, that it might be stockpiling within the active.
their self. Do we want completion, we get a certificate, what do we do with this? That's part J,
They have to back that.
okay. Should we have it approved by the CEO and then provided by, I mean, it says, I understand it's signed by a registered professional. But the- Yeah. for sure. But do, I mean, hold up. Yeah, but
It didn't imply that it-
Yes, it could be in there. I'm looking for that, I am.
see. But, no. But I was gonna say, what are we gonna account?
Yeah,
You say independent community group.
yes, absolutely. Not a PE who's working. Who's somebody. No. No, well,
We can
not
put it in,
really. I
we
mean,
can put it
they
in, but
would
it's gonna be subjective. Basically, they're putting their life, they gotta decide. if it's worth it.
well, of course, when I worked for the state, I mean, we had a lot of things signed off by required independent PE. You know, we had one of the PEs working for the state. In theory, certainly had the knowledge and the expertise to sign off on that. But, you know, we were looking for an independent third party. Again, PE putting a stamp on the line. Most cases are going to be pretty careful. A lot of that stuff. Testing.
We, is the operator gonna pay?
No, this is just sign off for the.
I understand.
Yeah.
Gonna saddle up the operator.
But it's not that big a problem. Doing a new reclamation. And, yeah, bring a PE in to inspect it before they're done properly. It's not a huge cost. Yeah, they go along with that. Or so, but, you know, but the cost of the reclamation. That's a very small time. We can't demand that the state. We can't can't demand the state to sign off, and give us a sign off on it, because we don't know that the state necessarily signed off. They're probably asking.
Well, and I'm sure we're not
I know.
allowed to ask the state to sign off.
My position,
This team can say no.
working for the state, I said the responsible party was, you have to have a PE, independent PE sign off and give it to me. I didn't. I didn't go in and sign. And the state's not going to do that. The state's going to require.
We'll have-
PE These who work for the state do a lot of other things besides signing off. On remediation. Again, I wasn't a PE, I was just a little.
I just think of private window. If we had to do that, always have some.
No, you don't have to have a all the engineering.
This is
No,
just the final sign.
Somebody signed off, said, yeah, it's done. It's done. You don't have to hire an outside. Particularly where these guys, they move dirt, I mean, they know how to move dirt. And they know how to do it right too.
Well, the rules are pretty clear, you just making sure somebody's saying, yeah, they did what they.
Yeah, all you gotta do is somebody come in and look at it and say, yep,
Yeah.
they did what they were supposed to do. Here we go, sign off. Obviously, they're gonna get a little. But it's not like you're hiring a, consultant to come in and do the whole project and all of that.
And the next step is locked in, yeah.
Stemming, matting, or natural protection.
Stemming only is no. Is that covered? Is that what they're supposed to?
Stemming, I believe that's when they pack the blast hole. Well, essentially covered. Good point.
Stemming is a material that is put inside of the blast hole to prevent gases from escaping. I'm looking it up, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a good question. I said stemming is a material that is put inside the blast hole to prevent gases from escaping. While stemming is typically put in the top of the blast hole, it can also be used to help bridge mud seams and weak layers. Improperly placed stemming can greatly decrease fire.
On the blast. I. With the idea of, we're gonna allow blasting. If you're permitting maximum blasting. That's a lot of blasting. Or maybe two.
I assume the operating requires some.
Well, certainly the discussion we had with the, initially with the quarry activity was, yeah, higher blasting. And, my recollection was saying typically one blast a day. And I didn't get the impression that all blast.
and whatever.
Yeah,
That they do.
but they come in and do, you know, maybe a period of a week or two, do some blast. My recollection, talking multiples a day, maybe my recollection. No, I don't know, I'm not, yeah. And, well, and again, that's the only one I've had in experience.
I don't know.
Yeah,
How many times? Day, there'd be a lot of days to blast. When they got the guy in there blasting, it was probably.
my recollection was one of the day. Yeah, maybe we could leave it in that. Yeah, with that, I don't think, again, we just talked to one guy. Yeah.
Well, with the notification requirements, they're not gonna wanna blast every day. They have to send out all the meetings.
Yeah, well, and the other thing he said was, when they bring the blast crews in, you know, they do a lot of prep work. They'll bring the crews in and blast over a period of a week or two, you know, one a day, maybe every 2 days or something like that. But, it's not like they're out there blasting every day of the week.
Yep.
Sounds like it'd be, you know,
Rather than.
half a dozen times a year maximum.
Rather than 4 or 5 days.
Well, it sounded like they'd probably do a couple, you know, maybe do a blast and then move away for 2 months. Something like that. But, you know, again, I'm in no position.
Just wondering, we're talking about. When we get into the number of days.
Well, I don't know.
Just this. Yeah, maybe something.
Well, not necessarily, I mean, you know, there's practical limit. I don't think these guys wanna have a blast crew in every day of the week.
I don't think we want to.
Well, no, but,
You have some.
yeah, well, we might, and I don't know.
Well, either, it says 4 in here.
For a day, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see days. Okay, we'll say 7 of them, you blast them. You're allowed 120 TBO. Why isn't the other one? But it's only 6 decibels at the 120 range, so. Can you even tell the difference between those?
Who's gonna check that? Yeah. He's
Well,
all on.
Well,
If you're gonna do 4, you can only. You can have 123.
it's not like you're doing 129 on the first one.
blast a day.
Oh, that's because of the protective, yeah, it has to do with the ocean guidance and exposure, so it's so that if you were exposed to 129 decibels a day instantaneously, that's not gonna damage your ears. If you're exposed to it 4 times, it would, but 123 decibels would.
So, you know,
Yeah, that's the limit, or you would incur damage. It's a weird little curve they have for limited time exposure and all that stuff.
I dealt with it.
I'm sure, yeah,
Well, it depends. If you're walking into a loud room, you don't need earmuffs. If you're gonna stand in a loud room for a long time, you have to have it because it's short exposure, long exposure. and all.
Or whether. What's happening?
Oh, geez. That's up there.
What was section two? Well,
We're in section two. And that's subsection one. Well, I had a couple of what I think are big comments last time. Because I didn't see it in here, maybe I missed it, but I didn't see anything in here about pre-inspection survey of houses or about changes in groundwater and groundwater chemistry from blasting. When people say it doesn't happen, I can tell you for a fact it happens. Every single time they blast, it changes your groundwater chemistry, just so you know, even miles away. Chemistry. Yeah. Which means, you know, you could be changing the fracture pattern. 74% of wells in Kennebec County are affected by some naturally occurring contaminant in Kennebec County, Maine. Because we all drink off bedrock wells. 74% of them need a treatment system. By exposing them to additional fractures, changing the fracture pattern, you are going to be changing the chemistry of their well. Everybody within a couple miles could have their chemistry changed. Potentially. I mean, it depends on how big the blast is. That's one of the questions. There was an earthquake in Alaska that actually shifted the groundwater levels by almost a half a foot at Acadia National Park. And you go, what? But it was a 7.5 earthquake. It was a massive, massive earthquake. Yeah, and it shifted the groundwater levels across the US that were bedrock wells. We had one on Acadia National Park that shifted by a half a foot. Now, did that change the chemistry? Don't really know. But again, a 7.9 earthquake is not a little earthquake, right? I mean, that is monstrous. So these blasts are nowhere near that level of shaking and moving. But they are creating shaking and moving. What is the disturbance factor? A lot of the stuff I read was 1 mile, 2 miles, things like that within the site. Depends on how your house sits, what type of house, what buffer zone you have. There's houses that are pinned to bedrock. If you're pinned to bedrock, it will shake your house and break windows miles away. You've seen it, right? It happens. So blasting 2 miles away can crack your house if you're pinned to bedrock and that bedrock is well connected. Now, bedrock is not a consistent platform, right? If you live in Windham, Maine, you might have to drill a groundwater well to drain that's 600, 700 feet deep because the bedrock is incredibly dense. The fractures are very, very small. Where if you go to other parts, you drill 50 feet, you got 20 gallons a minute. And it's not always a given science what the fracture pattern is going to look like when you're drawing out a bedrock. But the chances of blasting changing that are almost a guarantee. Now, are they going to change it for the better or the worse? You don't know.
That's some tanks. And this is
Yeah, and DEP doesn't talk about water quality. I read through the DEP standards. They don't talk about water quality.
block survey is required.
Yep.
So that's just about the time.
That was my understanding. It's more of evaluating the house so the homeowner can prove, well, hey, this window wasn't broken before. Right, but it didn't say groundwater drinking water because we have so many private wells and they're all bedrock wells now, pretty much. The chemistry will shift, or potentially could shift. And again, we have so many naturally occurring contaminants. So if it shifts and, do we require them to do a pre-sample, pre-chemistry, and then after the blast do a post-chemistry? Or does that fall on the homeowner? Well, so if your arsenic level is at 2, you're well below the EPA limit, or the EPA and the drinking water standard. The blast happens and now your level's at 10. And now you have to put a $2,000 to $3,000 arsenic system in your house. How should that be the homeowner's responsibility that lives a mile away from the blast?
No, it doesn't.
Potentially, it would show up very quickly if you shifted traffic. And I mean, maybe I'm being overly prescriptive or overly reservative in this metric, but I'm just saying that I feel like that's one of the challenges because, 2 miles is a long, long way. But, I know there's some science to say it could happen, but could and will are very different. If you're 500 feet away, very likely your fraction pattern will change. Now, will it change to different types of water? Will it change and expose a fracture of uranium or radon or something that wasn't there before?
I don't think that makes sense.
It's pretty fast. I mean, you have to extract the water. That's the only thing. So, basically, as you're extracting water that could be 30, 50, 500, 1,000 years old after that. How long does it take to get from the surface to the subsurface to the fractures that you're drawing on? You don't know. Some could be hours, some could be years, some could be millennia. So maybe it changed your fracture pattern, but it didn't change it. You're drawing 1,000-year-old water, it didn't change it. But maybe now you're testing this other fracture pattern too. Usually when we're doing samples, it says 3 bore volumes. So you want to empty the well 3 times, which is a lot of water, but when you have a 10-gallon a minute pump, it only takes 5-10 minutes. It's not like you're talking days. It doesn't take that long. It's a 6-inch hole.
I'm gonna say that we're looking at, do we test the distance as the well to fall out there, or do we do septic tests?
Did with one of the applicants, they had their free, and we started writing up kind of what they were going to do was a pre-test and a post-test. You could just run the basic chemistry test, and it's going to tell you whether it changed.
Well,
Existing one. And do we arbitrarily put a distance in there? I don't. That's a big question. What would that distance? What is reason? We could say, okay, 1 mile. We want to make sure it's doing it, and any residents within 1 to 2 miles, it's optional, and they can opt in if they want. If they're concerned.
I don't think we would require.
You can't require anybody. It's public drinking water, but you can at least allow access and to say you may not have as much recourse if you don't allow them to sample.
We can't require anyone.
No, but most wells are very, very easy. You can do it from an outside faucet.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
And if they have a filter, you say, that's fine. I can test it pre-filter. Post-filter. Because it's not going to change as long as you didn't add any new contaminants. All I'm looking for is you didn't add anything to it. So you're okay. You don't have to worry about whether it's post-filtered and all that. We've done a lot of those things. So you just sample it at an easy, accessible source. Run the basic water chemistry, and then you say, okay, what does it look like after? That could be substantial depending on how big we make the circle. A mile circle, a 2 mile circle, and where they are, that's. Yeah.
Hold someone liable for changes that they have to. Current baseline. They have to do three-
You have to do everybody's. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I said, 74% of the wells in Kennebec County, we have a paper on 74% of them will have a measurable, something above EPA limit. They will have to have a filtration system. Well, arsenic is 50%, almost 60%. So, but there's radon, uranium. Uranium is one of those that generates radon, but uranium also, if it's high enough, you can't even shower. It's skin exposure. So it's a very different contaminant from where. So, and different systems cost different amount. Yeah, you know. So, yeah, I mean, they talk about like 1,000 feet and 2,000 feet and things like that. But that's not far at all when you think about connecting to bedrock. And you know you're going to be changing the fracture pattern as well. But again, it depends on how big a blast they're doing. How much explosives are there? Is it like you almost need a ratio between the two? The bigger the blast, the further you have to go. You can do smaller blasts. I mean, you can do it in, you can do it in the weight of the nitrogen. I mean, that's how they do it. It's the weight of the explosive.
Yeah.
And say if you're using X pounds of explosives, you have to go X bar. But I'd have to do a little more research for it to come up with numbers on that one. I can't venture a guess on that.
I'll see if I'll look.
Yeah, I bounced around a little bit on the state website, couldn't find a lot on, and there wasn't much in the state guidance on effects to groundwater. We know it happened. So. Yeah, you'd expect it to be. Yeah, it depends on. Yeah, it depends on. It depends on. I mean, it also depends on. But it doesn't say vertical. I mean, down those pits in the these are 300 feet long. I mean, well, you may only go 10 feet in, but I'm saying the amount of material. You take it all. Right. Well, the biggest challenge that we don't know is what type of bedrock and how well it's going to. That's why I think it's very, like, consistent is your bedrock layer, how well connected it is, what the construction, which is incredibly hard to do. In the geology. So we have to make some, in my mind, reasonable. X number of pounds for 100,000. This mountain, you go 2,000 feet. Something like that based on the size of the explosion. Right, and if they do a chain explosion, I would think that would be a lot less because it's not all at once, it's smaller. So that's kind of up to them to decide how they want to do it and the possible impact. But usually they want a big bang because it'll take the whole thing down. Yeah.
Joel, would you run in and you can start? No, this is, wouldn't we have to do the same?
Yeah, that's in there. And the DEP standard is that they have to do the pre-inspection pictures. And again, the homeowner could say, oh, you can't come into my house. It's their house. They don't have to let anybody in, but then it's a lot. Exactly. Well, I mean, then it gets a lot harder. It gets a lot harder for them to go back and put a claim. They don't have those pre-pictures. They could take their own.
We have to distance.
Yeah. Yeah, I almost think the state might have a distance for that. Yeah. I think they said 1,000. I think there's like 1,000 or 2,000. I think it's something like that. But again, it's really not, I mean, the only time you're ever gonna see it a long way away, it depends on your overburden, your distance from the bedrock to your house. Because it acts as a buffer, how well you're connected. But if you have a house that you're actually pinned to the bedrock, you're gonna have broken windows if you're 1,000 feet away. That's gonna happen. If they have a big blast.
Well,
So it's.
I think you're not. Calculation and. Yeah.
Pounds of nitrogen diesel mix.
mean, so, I mean,
There are other. I know for a fact we're, and they've never been asked. Because I know Peter Reardon and Paula Reardon. They never had to do anything with groundwater level. Well, well, they do a lot for houses, and they've had a lot of them. They're right there on Riverside, on River Road, in Augusta. And there's houses within like 150 feet.
oh, is that, I mean, so, not
They've
only,
repaired all kinds of windows.
is there something you said that it's not only groundwater quality, but groundwater flow?
Potentially, I mean, you know, if we change somebody's groundwater flow, we could get into that, but. The odds of changing that are much, much lower. And, you know, if we change somebody's groundwater flow from 8 gallons a minute to 4 or 5 gallons a minute, they probably would never know if they have a 200 foot line. They'd never be able to stop the drive. So I don't think.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's not,
possible, but
it's not necessarily.
it really.
They do a lot of.
It's always possible, and a lot of times, all you have to do is drill deep. But the only problem when you drill deeper is you change the well chemistry. You know, back in what, 2000, we've had the drought of 2001, 1991, 2001, 2002. They're pretty major, drought, and we had somewhere around 10,000 new wells drilled in Maine. That's the whole state. You know, where people had to drill a new well or shed their well. And when we just had the recent drought in 2021 into 22, the levels weren't as bad, but it was still low, fairly low. I think the total well through the drought was something like 50. So, you know, it wasn't, I mean, the record drought was still back in the early 2000s. So, yeah, I mean, it's still possible, but I would not, it's not very common. Because they have to get to 3, most well drillers are gonna go to 50 feet anyways, because they gotta shove 20 feet of casing in the ground. So, you know, they gotta get it into the bedrock, so by the time you get to 50 feet, most people are gonna be running that, you know, well over. There are people that live on top of hills too, so, and sometimes they struggle. Yeah, you found one of the holes without any cracks. Well, see, if they blasted, you might actually get a lot more flow.
Okay, it's scheduled up to, there is this is area of operation. Holidays, the big holidays. I think down in the, you know, what. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
There is I'm way down at the bottom, maybe I've said it myself. But, you know, just when they come on the schedule, they put the newspaper posted. It is something we want to do, you know, notifying residents within X number of feet, you know, with a letter. So you send them a letter as well as notifying newspaper. Send it to residents, especially those that you've already done like their re-blasting pictures. Right.
Yeah,
I think that'd be appropriate. Yeah. Just within whatever distance we set for, whatever distance we set for monitoring.
Or others who have, for example, some further out than they are very much.
Then, so, I've been in here, so the half mile. All of it.
Okay, we're telling them specifically.
It's already in there.
Okay.
That's all of it, that, and that.
Yeah, it's written out, I see. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Then it's 1 through 5.
Oh, so it's one.
I think that's the same.
And then
Officially in the 7 p.m.
Want it to be changed, yeah, we want it to be 7 8.
7, yeah.
Yeah, to match the L. Yeah, regardless.
Yeah,
I'll take it all that. The drilling's limited 8 to 5 and the blasting is 9 to 4. I think that's.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of putting it closer.
Then everything else will be 6. 7 to 6.
7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we had with limited operation. Why would we, with section A, hours of operation, why would we specify there's no operations are allowed at night?
Yeah, it does.
Or Sundays, those are already listed. I would say no operation is allowed on the following holidays.
Yeah, not,
And
well,
just,
that's
well, night's not
ill
allowed.
defined anyway, and so.
Yeah, and Sundays is already taken care of above, so I would just, I guess, eliminate those and just say no operation on the following holidays. And I don't know if everybody's good with the holidays, I understand. Yeah. Well, you can't do it on Sunday. So Easter's not open.
Big notice blasting.
That should be able to get heard.
Yeah, after dark.
After dark.
Yeah.
After dark. Skip.
The,
We did have one more on the operation. It says in case of emergency, request for sand and gravel from public safety officials, the above hours may be waived. If you want to specify who public safety officials are. Town, CEO, town, and town public director, is that reasonable?
that's true too.
Well, I just worry that, Jimmy's building a house down in the lake. He's an emergency. You know, we had this discussion where what classified as emergency, who calls who.
Local deputy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
Well, it does say public safety official. It has to be somebody, it has to be somebody public. So it has to be somebody working for a town, state, or whatever. So it has to be a public official. That's it. A government. Do we want to add, I know the state. But do we want to add? Let's see, pits and around excavation of pits on there should be required by a planning board discretion, but I would think. I'd like to say, you know, maybe more restrictive than mandatory state. Well, fencing is required by the state, they need to put it in, and there is for like, especially if we're talking Boston. They do require fencing, certainly. Yeah, yeah. I think it's 4 feet. Yeah, but I know the state fence when you're doing like blasting out there's 60. The state is wrong. I would say we can add as a planning, we can have more restricted depending on the location. If the trail that runs through, you know, the state is. I just wanted to make sure that they weren't exempt from the state. The way this is written, like, I want to make sure that the state rules for it. I know, I feel like we tried. So I just want to make sure that it's not.
Yeah. It's state requirements on this one.
Yeah, we may require additional, depending where it is. If we're behind the high school or something, that may not be ideal for. But they're required to be entirely fenced in. Where I don't think, I mean, I guess it's possible.
Let's say,
they may
you know,
require-
a lot of gate. Stay on top fire.
The state, that's part of our recommendation. We put it in there, they don't have to do that.
I don't know if there's something that can get.
Well, yeah, not. The keys of it, that of cutting.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, what we required in the solar one. So-
Yeah, that's right.
So we could definitely add it, you know, but it also could be.
Yeah.
But I mean, it also says all show up, the knock box is not gonna help you,
That's
unless it's
not
got the
gonna help
loader
you.
key in it or something,
But-
because you're
well,
not
let's say-
moving the loader.
Well, maybe I left the key for the loader in the Knox box.
That would be the only way you get by that.
I like that.
That's right.
There's some creative firemen who drive a loader.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be- you know, it's not walking with it.
Right, but but you're assuming that if they don't require a gate and we don't require a gate, we're just saying no matter what, all entrances shall be made impassable. So I like the last sentence, because it basically says, even if there is no gate, you're gonna put something there so people can't drive in, no pit parties.
Right.
Or at least no driving in. You can walk.
But I think that that's also.
Require.
Oh, like that, yeah, that post. Yeah, signage,
That is. I don't think so.
No, but I think that's something we're talking about. Like anything of this. So someone may have got to that, some kid out there.
Well, they can
Somebody who wants to get in.
They can always go, I mean, we said it, they can always go get a monitoring system. You can get, a call center, they screen my calls for me.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Property value is just one big wild card that I don't even want to touch.
well, I did have a note in there as well to.
In our solar ordinance. Yeah, you could just add that, yeah, you could put that. So at least then you know who we see.
Property value.
It's subjective.
Also subjective, and you can get one. But don't know if that's. The whole point is by. But we do. So. Goes,
All right, at this point, I was hoping to, but, I, it, actually, we might be able to wrap this up without huge additional time and investment. Do we want to proceed? You'd like to proceed?
If you mean getting it, you know, final version. Do we have an agreement with property values? That,
Uh,
like I say, everything we do, nothing about it. Is inherently.
I think if you,
Well, say something to the effect that the, planning board may request.
Yeah, I'm gonna write that in there, and I'm just not in, you know, here, I've got a note to write.
Okay.
I was gonna say just add. It's not that hard to do, and why not just add it?
Yeah, I'm gonna do, take all that.
Take it then,
Just take the property. Yeah, then you can take the property thing out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
I don't think there's a lot of weight
Okay,
there.
use that
And
instead,
sufficient
yeah.
analysis
So
will
think
give you.
about it, we're gonna, yeah, take care of the dust problem.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
Yeah,
We're
okay.
taking care of, right.
So
We got the noise, we got the dust, we got the lights, we got the traffic, we got, yeah. Yeah, we're trying to cover it, all our
Yeah,
bases, so.
and it, you know, it's go away and thing.
Okay.
Look at property values, all the things.
Yeah.
With a lot of use in the country.
Is that the total workman officer? I mean, who even sees the performance? Like the state? Doesn't really tell you. No, not at all.
To be honest. Next out,
I saw it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think. And also. Someone who knows.
Brand new policy. They have no, they've been around for 20 years doing a great job, they'll have a performance record. How can you compare apples and oranges?
And you can't, you can't necessarily.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I agree. That section of it. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we covered that. Yeah.
Maybe something.
Yeah, no, it's kind of, I didn't really.
One of the following to the, you know. Some of them take, well, some of them are easier than others, you've got.
Doc, can you check with the town to make sure those are all written?
Yes.
Yeah, I think they're-
We discussed
I think
that the other
there's,
day.
yeah, I think they're standard, I just wanna make sure.
Standard out there.
It's the law. So, be nice to get all that stuff later.
That's what I mean, I think that's important for financial services. that we got it.
Yeah.
Get it. Got it in. Yes, yes, yeah. And we did not like it, and but
We've done that.
we've done that before too. I'm assuming section 2 is the planning board. Yeah, it says the board. Yeah. Section 3, you say, town council should determine, shouldn't that be the code enforcement officer? Shall determine. And it should say, would that be the town council? That's the actual fund.
Yeah, that's a fun.
Okay, we can put that on the town.
Yeah.
But then it says here, after consultation with a certified engineer and or other consultants. We requires the professional engineer sign off.
Yeah, they automatic.
So should we? Because it says or other consultants, like it shouldn't say, it should say and other consultants. It should say or.
Yeah.
Because it can't be either or.
You wanna say certified?
It should say certified professional.
Well, it should not say the law.
Yep. Yeah, independent.
No, it's independent professional engineer, not
Yeah.
certified.
Yeah, certified.
No, certified wrong. It's a professional engineer.
Yep.
Is the-
But I'd say and other consultants as needed.
Independent.
yeah,
Okay, then default.
Yeah. For the consultants, as needed.
Seems like section 4 should be the fourth section. It's sort of like putting the instruction, or putting the warning after the instruction. Shouldn't just switch those two? I mean, don't you think that, the CEO should be doing his evaluation well before they're releasing the money? Doesn't that make sense? We're just kind of backwards here.
Yeah.
So, CEO would expect it. Report. And then certified as a professional, independent engineer.
Yeah, the part of it, the replanting, it says CEO. So the professional engineer is at the end. But the CEO has to review like the plan and then the slopes. There's a couple of things that are specifically spelled
So
out.
the statement, the approved operator wants 30 days unless otherwise. The after the professional engineer.
Well, I would assume that if Mark goes out there and says your replanting doesn't meet, they'll have 30 days to fix it. Until Mark said, yes, you're doing it. I would
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that would be the process.
Yeah.
'Cause that
Not
would
that
be-
the final.
Yeah,
final.
Mark says good, okay, now you get your engineer sign off on it, now we're good. So,
Article 7.
do we have to put that anywhere? I mean, the inspections consultant who would put the enforcement, if Mark has to go there and do X number of site visits. Should that be something the town should say in here, how much that's gonna cost, if anything? You know, do we just add those inspections to his plate, or do we charge for them? I don't remember the application. part of it.
Usual. Well, maybe it does. No, it's not a lot of work, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems reasonable, but I just, you wanna check with him, Don,
No,
and see. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, is making sure that we assess a fee that,
And that,
he has to do the remediation sign off as well as the actual
all
building.
the third party stuff is like, one thing.
Yeah.
Internal thing, and that's.
Yeah. Right, so he wants to bring in, he wants that fee to be the right amount to cover all the work that the town will have to do through the process. And that could even be, and we could have a separate fee if he had to do an enforcement compliance. Where he was being asked to do a notice study or something, he was gonna be the third party, or the town was gonna hire a third party, we could say they should be covered. You know, if we're getting into a third party type system. So just make sure that you're thinking about those things. when you get your number.
no, it seems to be revisited.
Yeah, for sure, but it's just. I think it'd be good to add. Be thinking about that, it's probably not a $10 fee.
Like waivers of the planning board makes more sense than variance. Because really a variance of the planning board is cheap. It's property.
This one, that way. Then I guess that's. It's not such a different one, you know. I think maybe it fits.
if the applicant can make it, that shuts down the application and the board is not responsibility.
Yeah, we have to say no.
It fails.
Yeah. Meet some requirement.
You know, which is, when you have to build it, then you can, especially if it's the same opportunity.
If that's what the intention is, I just wanna make sure, because a lot of times, because of the claim regulations where this is very similar. It's speaking of the certain conditions, but it may have not the intent. And if that's not, then this is.
Somebody came in from the industrial zone, commercial zone, said we want to put a mining operation, we said, no, you can only build it rural. It's a no from us, but they could go and ask the.
Yeah, that's a lot of approval.
Right, for a variance, and say, we want to put it in this, then they could come back and say, we gotta meet all these other requirements.
But there's a lot of design.
Yeah, promise.
You wouldn't look for a variance on. This one is being here.
But we have an ordinance.
You just love it. This is the one thing a lot of this is so clear. Just for making a box or something like that. Like there's design standards for the driveway and the road. So if they can't meet a certain radius, they can meet a radius that's, they can still make the same kind of.
Which is, yeah, that's the way. Yeah, that- this one's gonna be-
Few people have been to the court.
I don't know if Article 9 is necessary, I don't know. Probably. Article 9 is just something that.
Yeah. I'll double check that. I've got a lot of cross references on that.
Yeah, we just see it, right? There's not much.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to contradict.
Yes.
We already have.
These are the kind of things. What else?
Yep, I like that last thing I started to, I'll start everything, I'll get that to you.
Yeah, probably section 1 and 2 of Article 9, right?
One and two, so.
I think all part of it. It's like
Oh, yeah, I think we,
Yeah.
all of it.
probably,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that,
Yeah.
maybe,
Yeah, section two is a little bit challenging. I don't know. Yeah. Section two is a little weird. I guess that's the way to keep people from
yeah, if you have like a,
having a cluster of
Adjacent
them all like
property.
different. These are all different. but all
technically just
still-
decide. I think I understand the spirit of it.
It's weird. Yeah. That's. Just add an extra buffer, I guess. I don't know. I don't.
Let's say, yeah, right?
I think that's-
You're the same thing.
Can't be within 500 feet.
Well, no, you need 500 feet of unaffected land. So if you did a blasting operation and a mineral extraction operation, and they were right next to each other, at what point do they become separate sites?
That's right. Okay, so
So-
if I want to see a barrier then. Sit it separately.
Right, that's the way I do that. Okay.
We're gonna really be.
Well, now, after you're blasting, and it's like, oh, that was his, pit. No, that was his. pit.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
How do we?
Well, that'll be another bridge to cross, I think. I think the intent here is really just to say that if you own 100 acres, you have two sites. If they're separated by more than 500 feet, they're separate
Sit it
mounds.
separate.
They're not the same mound.
And then it costs.
So it doesn't even have to be different properties. It can be on the same property. If there's more than 500 feet of unaffected area, those are different sites and have to
Yeah,
go
so then-
through everything separate. That's the way I would
Yeah, because then when you talk about like measuring distances,
Yeah.
things, not just, yeah.
Yeah, in my mind, this
Yeah.
helps us so that they can't have, they still may be limited to 5 acres
Mhm.
total, but if if they're way apart, I mean, the
Yeah, you got
applicant we had that wanted to do, he has an 85 acres and what's gonna do black, oh, I'm gonna down
One
gravel
acre,
extraction. And it's like, those are not the same, that's not the
Not
same
the same,
operation, right, that's not the same application, that's a different.
So that's a two
It's,
separate-
they have to have two separate permits. So, I like the provision now that I've read it 6 times.
Yeah.
Now it makes sense, but it took a while.
Yeah.
To get there.
Okay, so now we have the last bit, which is just the list of definitions. These are all. I think about match. What we are explaining. Match. Everything is available.
One, make sure we don't have anything defined. Make sure we didn't miss any and make sure we didn't have any that need to be here anymore.
Location.
Yeah. Yeah, the subdivision is down, there's some things in here too that I probably should check against, which I will not do.
Oh, yeah, this is the really last page. Please. And then. It really actually shouldn't be in this stuff.
Oh, maybe be scheduled. Or,
It's not happening, just.
Do we still want a Mylar copy? I didn't think so.
Yeah, I think none of these do.
That's why we may want to update that. Very end of Article 12, there's note 1, polyester film and 4 copies of the final plan should be presented for signing. Also, 1 digital copy in PDF format.
Oh, yeah, we actually,
I thought we did too.
in
I
the
thought-
earlier part, we actually.
Yeah, so we may want to just update that.
To be honest, Article 12.
Is that needed anymore
Yeah.
the way it is? I think everything's kind of covered. So. Well, there is a B thing on the back.
That will be in the.
It's the
Mark, for example.
Yeah, I got the feeling that the size is not going to matter that much. I mean, there should be some variation.
Could be.
Well, if we capped it at 5 acres, are we even gonna have anything beyond 5 acres?
Good point, yeah, to do that.
We won't have any cost. Yeah, I mean, we may have one less than an acre or 1 to 5 acres. Too, but we wouldn't have.
But I don't. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Financial balance.
Again, the comments, I think, is. The problem with.
In several versions. That's all.
Can't think of much. I know I read it. I can't think of much that was in there that we haven't touched on. I mean, they had a couple of requirements and I was just like, yeah, I mean, they had a couple of requirements. I was like, oh, my phone. I was like, I don't think that makes any sense, but, then I said, I think we touched on and covered an awful lot of them in different parts of these. I don't think there's too much left. I'll have to go back and reread it, but I don't think there's much left we didn't already touch on.
Though they were very concerned about the measurement of the particulates in the air.
And I think their requirements are unrealistic. The DEP's guidance and everything else, it doesn't make any sense.
I was looking at the fourth perspective.
Well, if you're seeing visual dust, then absolutely, but that's already written in here. The amount of particulate that is escaping the site that you can't see is going to be directly proportional to the amount you can see. It's a very, very standard curve. It's in a lot of different national publications that shows that curve. So if you have no visual dust, it's like, oh, it'll travel 5 miles. Yeah, but it's like 2 microns, which is normally what's in normal atmospheric air. So we're breathing that in here.
I mean, that was just a head up.
Right. But if you read, I read through a lot of the state guidance and a lot of it, and science says that if you can see it, that's why they say, if you can see it, you need to measure it. Because then it's going to have fine particulate that you don't want to be exposed to.
Hopefully that falls under this.
Well, and basically all the drum grinding, all the separating requires water. And that's laid out in the DEP guidance. And when you water, it basically eliminates all the fine particulates. I mean, they don't even require the workers standing around this machine to wear respirators. Why would they worry about somebody miles away that would get some fraction of a percent? It's like if the OSHA's not requiring it standing next to the thing all day, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be pretty safe miles away. I know there's a lot of scare tactics, a lot of information out there that could make people nervous, but you have to put the science into context before you really understand it. And say, I mean, OSHA, there's a lot of studies that have talked about this. There's been a lot of studies because there's been a lot of anti-science, there's a lot of clusters, there's a lot of science that's been out there because there has been some really bad issues. But that's why we're saying you have to meet DEP or an EPA required coverings, wettings, even the machinery you're using has to meet those standards. And that basically eliminates the problem. So, yeah, we pushed it a week after Thanksgiving. It's a weird one.
Oh, wait, yeah, I've been saying, we're not. Okay, so Joel, you will be providing us a copy of what we produced here.
Yep,
Yeah, yeah, right, there are a couple of,
revised draft.
okay. So my plan is in revised draft. Hopefully, I think this is now what we can share with the public input at our next meeting, when we sit down as a group and go over that, or the public comments we have. And hopefully at some point do something which is council.
That doesn't make me clear, so I'll work with Rick to do all of this.
So,
It's like another.
yeah, so,
We'll make sure that, this is incorporated, and then you'll get that before the next meeting.
yes,
So at that meeting, you want to take comment at that meeting or after you review?
Maybe we should just go over supplied comments and then Well, are we gonna have any other cases? Are we have any other cases to do on that meeting, at the end of? Yeah.
This one,
Are they both coming back?
they both, but they're seeing. They submitted everything requested,
Okay.
and potentially two other, there's four potential.
Yeah, because I worry about.
Yeah.
If we
Of
open,
course,
yeah, if we wanna be clear, make sure the public has a chance to comment, but we don't wanna.
You don't want to be till 11.
Yeah,
It-
we can say-
it could be like,
Right. Okay, why don't we get the copies to the board? We can do a second one.
I think so, the chief, we can use the chair, you know, maybe available.
We want to give ample time to the public. But, we want to get our draft kind of together. Because, you know, we get all these comments on stuff that's not even there.
And we value the public comment, but we also wanna be mindful of the time and say, maybe we wanna limit that, you can post that in the public announcement. And say, public comment to be limited to 2 minutes per person, and, please, if comments already been mentioned, please don't feel a need to repeat. We'll take public comments, not wait it either, and they supply comment, those are the seven. Yeah. Something like that, just to try to keep us on track. If people come in on for discussion, we don't want to hear the same thing many times for 10 minutes apiece. That doesn't really add any value. Yes, exactly. And if we're going over the written comments, we don't want to do it. That'll be enough discussion.
I'll be reaching back out with,
Yeah, sounds like, could be busy. Thank you all, very appreciate it. Okay, any other business here? Hearing none. Goodbye.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion
All
to
right,
adjourn,
I'll
all
second,
right.
whatever way we want to go.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you all.
All right.
Yeah.
Take another cookie.
You get your cash.
Oh, I don't want to speak to you.
I'm gonna send
Outside, I
it to
guess.
you.
I would love to. Jay, are you?
Actually, I'm the vice chair.
This is my grandfather's present.
Well,
Made a bakery.
Yeah, wicked good.
Oh my God.
Wicked good. Okay.